Dr. Jaime Show. I am so happy that you are with me today on this what? It's not Friday, it is Fri-yay. I am so happy that this day has arrived and that I get to spend this time with you. Thank you so much for tuning into the Dr. Jaime Show, right? This is your 1 hour per week that you get for yourself. We talk about things that'll make you successful, things that'll make you happy. And for those of you that logged on early today, as we were setting up the followers and the technology, you had a very special pre-show as today my son is off of school, and he talked about confidence and money, and he wants to be an astronaut, so we learned about the different planets. So I hope that many of you got to view that special pre-show today. Part of work-life balance, being mom, right, and also working. So we had a combination of both today. So a little bit of background for today. We have Tom, Seeko, and CJ Burnett, and what they are going to do is talk with us about all things money. CJ is the head of investing and planning, and Tom is the head of operations and insurance. So we're going to get a wealth of knowledge in all of these areas. And I told them we need to be down to earth, we need to be fun, because I don't do math on this show. So make sure that you are educating us in a very fun and exciting way today. So I look forward to them coming on the show. So who is going to be on the show next week? So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of who to expect in the month of February. So on the 17th, we have Dwayne Spires, success guru. He was doing so much. We are going to talk about barriers he's overcome, how he became so successful. So that is going to be a very fun show. I hope that you email me or message me in questions so we can direct those questions toward him. If you are looking to achieve goals, he can definitely help you with this. Then on the 24th, we are not going to have the Dr. Jaime Show. I am hosting my annual Superwoman Workshop. Tickets are still available for web for those of you that are not in Tampa, and I think we have about 7 seats left in Tampa. So you can go to my website or my Facebook page, which I hope that you go in and like, because that helps me. And the Facebook is Dr. Jaime Superwoman Workshops and Coaching. If you can go to Facebook right now and like that page for me, that would be awesome. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, so then on the 10th, so on the 3rd, I'm speaking at an event, and then on the 10th, we are having a matchmaker on here. Her name is Nancy Wall. She is literally a certified matchmaker. So she has a database of tens of thousands of singles in the Tampa Bay area, but if you're not in Tampa, hold on, and you interview with her, and she matches you to your perfect match. It is amazing. But she also has a database of other matchmakers in the other states. And so if you are looking for a matchmaker to help you, she can give you the information to a matchmaker in your state and set you up. So awesome. We're going to hear more about her, and that's on the 10th. On the 17th, we have Janet Reynolds. She's an ordained minister, but she is also a medium. So how fun is that? We're going to do some readings on the show. I'm really excited about that. And then on the 24th, we have a PR expert. I love her. Her name is Marsha Friedman. She is so humble, so down to earth, and such an expert in PR, and she's going to talk to us about how we can celebritize yourself. So if you're looking for a little bit more following yourself, this is going to be a great show for you. If you're looking to write a book, she's got so many tips on that too that she can share with you. All right, so that's a little bit about the guests that are upcoming on the Dr. Jaime Show. Let's talk about the Alliance and the workshop. So I talked to you about the workshop. That's the 24th. Please get your tickets. Come support. Super fun, super exciting, and all of the women work together in this workshop. You will find such benefit and value from it as we talk about work-life balance. And then we also have the Alliance program. Most of you know about it, but just for those of you that are new joining the Dr. Jaime Show today, I would have clients ask me for recommendations and referrals of people to help them do certain things. Maybe they wanted a PR company, maybe they wanted web design, maybe they want a good doctor, and I was always giving referrals. And I said, you know what, why don't we create one hub on my website of people that I truly trust in different industries. So I can send people to my website, and then they can look under a certain column or category and find a trusted professional in that area, someone that I've worked with or that I personally know. So we have that up and running, so just go to drjaimek.com to view that. If you want to see if your business qualifies, and you don't have to be in the Tampa Bay area, it could be anywhere in the nation, go ahead and email me. doctor@drjaimek.com, or go to my website, again, with the Alliance directory. Everything will walk you right through that process. All right, so what else did I want to share with you? Okay, I also wanted to share with you this awesome game called A Better Me. What I love about this game is that it has real world questions that you can do. So you gather a bunch of friends and you play this game, okay? But there's real world questions that help you foster stronger friendships. So it actually has you do things outside of the game in the real world. So one of the questions, so I'm just going to randomly pull one here. I haven't opened this one yet. This is the heart card. So if you land on the heart card, you have to do something. And this, what it says on the back, is when you notice, and this is actually going to be your challenge this week. So I'm going to challenge you right here based on what this card says. When you notice the time is a repetitive number, so 10, 10, 11, 11, 1, 1, 1, use it as a reminder or trigger to think of what you are grateful for. So this week, any day this week that you see a triple number or a repetitive number on the clock, I want you to stop and I want you to think about something that you're grateful for. This book, this game was created by Dan O'Donnell. He's actually in Thailand. He is an amazing guy. I've had an opportunity to correspond via email with him. So check out his game. This is a great game if you're looking for accountability in your own life, and you're also looking to foster stronger friendships. So I hope you check him out and support him as well. And then I had a couple readings that I wanted to read to you today before we bring out CJ and Tom. So again, I told you I'm reading Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss, great book. So after you read The Superwoman's Guide to Super Fulfillment, yes, even you guys, then you can switch over to Tim Ferriss's hefty book, Tools of Titans. And I wanted to share a couple brief sections with you on wealth this week that I thought you would enjoy. So let's see, on page 220, just one sentence here that I wanted to share with you. Let's see, what is the ultimate quantification for success? For me, it's not how much time you spend doing what you love, it's how little time you spend doing what you hate. So just a little bit of food for thought. How often are we at work for 8, 10, 12 hours a day doing something that we hate? That happens to a lot of us. So it's not necessarily how much time you spend doing what you love, but how much of your day is going toward things that you hate doing. So that is how you want to quantify your time and see your happiness and fulfillment in life. All right, so on page 222, I wanted to read you one question. So the interviewee is talking about going into Kanye West's house. And while I don't usually talk about Kanye West or, would tell you to do everything that he does, he has a very good point here. The interviewee asked Kanye when he went to his house, Kanye, why do you have a giant picture of yourself on the wall? And Kanye says, well, I gotta cheer for me before anyone else can cheer for me. So I do believe in that, where you don't have to have maybe like a 20-foot by 20-foot, photo of yourself hanging in your living room. I do think you need to be able to cheer for yourself before anyone else in the world will cheer for you. So thinking that's food for thought. And then the last one I have for you today is on 226. And let's see what I put. I don't like that one. I don't know why I put that page on there, so you're not getting that one. Okay, all right, so the moment you've all been waiting for. Have I held you long enough? Do you have butterflies in your stomach? Are you so excited? So today, right now, this second, we are going to talk all things money with CJ Burnett and Tom Seeko. Come on down! Yay! I'm telling you, I need music. And our heads get chopped off when we talk, so. Welcome. Yes, that's awesome. Take a seat. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you. Thanks for coming out here. Can you see yourself? Do you look fabulous? Yeah?
You look fantastic.
Yes. Excellent. Good. Okay. Fabulous. Okay, so Tom is on the end and CJ in the inside here. Welcome. Thank you. All right, so before we begin, one of the traditions I have on the show is that you tell us something unique or fun about you that nobody or very, very few people know about you. So before we begin, who wants to start? CJ?
So I play violin.
Okay.
That's one thing that I grew up. I was actually a professional fiddle player.
Wow.
So, and the violin that I generally play with is going to be 110 this year.
Wow.
110 years old.
Amazing. That's awesome. Excellent. And last week we had a nutritionist, Sarah Krieger, and she was like this little prime, proper, loved her. And I was like, so what is your secret? And she's like, I was like listen to heavy metal and what was it? Headbang? Hangman. I hangman. I headbanged and I couldn't believe it. So anyways, okay. I know someone out there laughed at that. Okay, Tom. So tell us something unique or interesting about you that very few people know.
So one thing is I'm a super huge avid soccer fan, but a lot of people don't know that throughout my life I started at 8 years old playing soccer, and eventually I started playing competitive. And I played over at the Worldwide of Sports over at Disney, and I traveled and did competitive soccer.
Wow, excellent. Did you enjoy that?
I love soccer.
Nice.
It's one of those things today that I wish I still played because my stamina, my endurance is so low that all I can do is watch it.
Uh-huh.
So.
Yes. So, and we talked about this last week too. And so Wes, my husband, if you're listening, we were talking about stamina with another guy and playing basketball and how he thought that he could beat all like the 20-year-olds, and he goes out there and he's out of breath and right? But you're the best, right? Well, I said this exact thing last week. Oh, you try to beat the 20-year-old boys, and so he tried to call in, which he might be if he's listening. And Vid Chat kept disconnecting it. He's like, oh, he was gonna call in live and be like, yell at me. But can you hear? No, okay. He'll probably call in any second and start yelling at me. Anyway, so okay, very good. So that is something unique about both of you. Most of you know what is unique about me. So soccer socks. I have to wear soccer socks to bed. I pull them up. I don't know why, since I've been little.
Is there a certain color you wear?
You know, that's a great question. No one's asked that before. I wear pink or black. So, yes. So maybe I could come out and play soccer with you.
Pink and black there?
No, I have one pink and one black, and that's the extent of it. So, all right, very good. Okay, so usually we jump right into the quote at this point, but part of work-life balance, my kids made fortunes. So I'm going to read you your fortune today before we get it. Okay, so CJ, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Okay. So pick a number.
Let's do 4.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pick a color.
Green.
Green. Green. Okay. And pick a color.
Again. Okay.
Yes.
Red.
Okay, red. So I'm going to read him his fortune today. This is going to be your fortune all day.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel pressure. Oh, it's blank.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's blank.
It looks like
I have no fortune.
Okay. You are great at something. He is great at something. Okay, very good. Okay. All right, now I'm going to read you a fortune. This is the other child. Pick a color.
Wow, this one has colors on it. Let's do a blue.
Blue. B-L-U-E. I'm surprised Wes hasn't called in yelling at me about basketball yet. Pick a number.
What numbers do we got here? There's 3, 4. Let's do 8.
8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I love how he took that so seriously. Did you feel that too? Yeah, I did too. Okay, pick one more number.
Let's do 7.
Okay, 7. Okay. You are a great friend. See, do you feel a little like
Yeah,
you
makes you
feel?
feel a bit-
It does. You kind of like, oh yeah, well, thanks. You stand a little taller. So, okay, very good. And if someone calls in and wants their fortune read, I will read you your fortune today as well. Big Chat, you know that you can call in and chat live with CJ and Tom. Facebook, we have someone sitting there reading off your questions. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and type them in. All right, so we're going to turn to the quote now.
Okay.
All right, quote. And I'm going to read this to you if you can't see it. Beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship. And that's by Ben Franklin. CJ, let's start with you. Do you agree or do you disagree with that quote, and why?
Completely agree with it.
Okay, why?
Give an inch, whatever it is in your life, it'll usually take a mile.
Okay.
So.
Okay, very good, very good. What do you agree or disagree with it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I agree with it from the fact that a lot of times the smallest little leaks, they don't seem like they're a big deal, but over time they can gradually build up and cause everything to fall apart on itself, and that ship will eventually sink no matter how big it is.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely. One thing that I notice with clients and even myself, one of those little expenses is going out to eat, right? You go out to eat Subway, you go out to eat at, Chick-fil-A or these little places here and there, $10 here, $15 here, then it's Friday, you go to TGI Fridays, and that's a $40 bill, and Starbucks is $5 or $7 a day, and it's these little expenses, but when you total them up across the month, you're like, holy cow, wow, did I really spend $1,500 this month and going out to eat? Or even if you spent $300, I'm sure you're going to tell us about this, but $300 a month could add up year after year after year, I'm sure. So, all right, very good, excellent. Okay, so before we begin, I want you to go ahead and I want you to tell the viewers who you are. So about you, if you have a family, just let them know who the information is coming from today. CJ, you want to start?
Yeah, so I'm a fourth generation in Tampa. My family's been here a very long time. I'm married, been married almost 10 years. Got married when I was 20. So I have a daughter who just turned 9. And so, you know, we live in Odessa, Florida, if you know where that is. Most people who live in South Tampa think it's close to Georgia. For all those South Tampa people who are listeling, I think they know what I'm talking
They're
about.
laughing, they're chuckling.
But yeah, and you know, I love my job. I think that the career life balance is not a real huge thing for me. I really like to see it as career life integration.
Nice, excellent,
So.
very good. That is an important component. And what I teach a little bit separate, I talk about work-life balance, but I talk about ways that you can incorporate your family into what you do.
Absolutely.
Okay, Tom, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so I was born in New Jersey. I moved down here when I was very young. There's a place up a little bit further north of Tampa called Homosassa, known for scalloping and manatees. Eventually I went to school at USF and got my finance degree. Interesting enough, CJ didn't mention that he actually graduated the exact same year I did with a finance degree from USF.
Wow.
He started over at our firm where we currently work at, and somehow over time, I think it was almost like a destiny thing, so where we eventually started working together, and we've been together now for 3 years building a business. On a more of a personal note, I recently got engaged last March.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice.
And we're planning our wedding for September 2nd, so doing all that stuff in Orlando, so the photographer, the videographer, all that fun stuff, planning a honeymoon right now.
Excellent.
And I've also got a 2-year-old 7-pound Maltipoo who's become my little baby.
Oh,
so,
yes,
I don't have a child
absolutely.
yet, but
Yes.
I'm like an animal.
Yes.
So.
Aw, very good, excellent. Okay, so that's who you're getting your information from today. So we have a ton of awesome questions today, so I want to jump right in if you both are ready. All right, so I'm going to go down my list here. The first thing I want to talk about is any common mistakes that either of you notice when it comes to money or finance. Are there any common themes that you see that you can share with us? Because I'm sure someone out there is feeling one of these mistakes.
So I'll give like the top 2. I think the first one that is very common is an imbalance between building cash liquid in someone's savings account and paying off debt. So, you know, usually people will try to go after one or the other. Either they save all their money and then they rack up debt, or they're trying to pay off debt so fast that they never have any money.
Yes,
right? And
absolutely.
so a lot of the time that imbalance can cause it where they pay off their student loans at the 6%, but now they have a problem with their roof and now they're putting it on a credit card. So they just traded a 6% loan for a 20%
Oh,
loan.
Excellent. Okay.
So I'd say that was the first one. The second one is not understanding insurance and the role that it plays inside someone's life. So we're forced to have auto insurance, right? If you buy a home, you're forced to have homeowners insurance if you finance through a bank or a large institution. And understanding those coverages, like sometimes you can get double, triple the coverage and it costs you like a few dollars extra per year.
That is so funny that you say that. So my husband and I wanted to, and this is recently, I would say like 2 weeks ago, wanted to increase our car insurance. I guess on one of the cars we didn't have full coverage for whatever reason it was. And I said, it's really important we have full coverage. Call and see how much of a difference it is for full coverage. How much do you think it was difference for full coverage?
$20.
Okay, what do you think?
I don't know, $30.
$1. One. Nobody told us that to go from wherever we were at to full coverage was $1 more. I was blown away. And can you think if something happened and we had gotten in a car accident, that is such a difference, and nobody told us that one is all we had to pay was $1 more for that full coverage.
Well, and like, I think the word insurance automatically, like it's something you pay for, you're not really sure what it's for,
Yeah.
right? So just getting educated around that, calling Geico to save 15% or more, but, you know,
I love that.
they're slashing your coverage to maybe 1/5 of what it was.
Yeah.
It just maybe not, you know, it's just understanding more about coverages versus the premium so that you understand what you're actually buying.
Excellent, excellent. I felt like we needed the little Geico guy.
Sorry.
He could save you 15% or more. Okay, very good. All right, this is my, you know, I have lame jokes, but you kind of chuckle. I know you do. Okay, all right. So any other common mistakes that you want to share? Or Tom, do you have any mistakes you can share with us?
I'd say that one thing that I notice a lot is that people tend to follow what other people do, and instead of finding out what makes the most sense for their story and creating priorities and, in a sense, creating a foundation to what they're trying to actually accomplish, because people go throughout life just reacting to a lot of things that happen.
Okay.
Someone passes away in the family, or they have a child and they want to start saving for education, and these are all things in life that people are just all of a sudden, hey, this is here, now I got to do something about it. It was never really taken into consideration as we started from the beginning of what should we be doing in a priority standpoint.
Excellent.
So that would probably be one that I would think. And then also, you know, just not making savings a priority,
Okay.
not understanding what really savings means and
Yeah.
the idea behind it.
Absolutely, and we're going to spend some time talking about that. But what I like about what you said is doing what's right for your situation. I talk about this even separate of money. As you know, we always, you know, we look to reality shows or famous people for an idea of certain trends or the way that we should be, or we check Facebook and social media to see what we should be doing or how should we be doing it, but that's not realistic to your life. You need to take that energy and focus on your life and say, where can I begin? Maybe there are people that you're looking at that can save, you know, $5,000 a month. Maybe you're not that person. Maybe you can save $20 a month, but don't get discouraged because you can't save that way, that you just don't save at all, or whatever issue it might be. So when it comes to money, kind of do a self-check for a moment after this segment ends today and say, where in my life am I like comparing myself or thinking irrationally with money, that I could bring it back and focus on my situation and be a little bit better with managing my money? Because I can tell you, and for those of you that might be my students watching today, the minute you lose control over your finances, you feel like you've lost control over your life. Even if things are great in your life, if you are just maxed out across the board financially and you're struggling, it really ruins. It's so interconnected with all the other areas of your life. Go ahead.
To add on to that, Paul, because like your income is like your most precious resource.
Mm-hmm.
Your savings build up, your investments, the cars that you buy, your debts that you pay down is all a result of your money that you make, and that pays for your lifestyle, your vacations, everything you want to do. And if there's no priority put around what that money's doing for me and how to prioritize around it, then ultimately what are we doing?
Yeah.
So which can lead to later on down the road regretting the decisions that we've made.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. I tell people that I work with, I tell people that I educate when it comes to finance is, don't give into that instant gratification. Think of your future self. And it's really hard. It's really hard when you want something or you need something right now to think of your future self. We always think I'll deal with it when I get there. I mean, I did that. I took out massive student loans. I took the max amount that you could take, and I was okay, great. I can pay rent with it, and while I needed a place to live, I'm sure there were other things I could have done. And you don't think? I thought to myself, when I get there, I'll worry about it then.
Well, it's also too, you got your loans, and they said, hey, you can get so much loans, and you're like, yeah, I should take it all.
Yeah.
And then you want to go buy a car, you want vacation.
And I was 17, I'm like,
course.
oh, yeah.
Why not?
I went from like shopping at like Walmart for clothes back in the day to like high-end Nordstrom. I'm like, yeah, Nordstrom. But later came, and that's today. And I do still have those jeans, by the way. I'll show them to you. So they were well worth their money. However, they were probably quadruple in the cost. Over the interest that I'm probably still paying to this day on those pair of jeans. But they're cute, but anyways, yes, you do. You have to think of your future self, because the future will come at some point, and then you have to pay back what Absolutely. It is you didn't think about. All right, any other common mistakes before we jump into the next question?
I'd say one more.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when people go get a home, they get approved for a particular amount of home.
Okay.
And a lot of the time, people will go after what they got approved for,
Okay.
because that's what's anchored in their mind, right?
Oh, great.
Like, it's like, okay, you're approved for a $300,000 home. Okay, great. That means my house needs to be $300,000.
Okay.
It's just a natural instinct.
Yes.
When a lot of the time, the banks and these financial institutions, like, they're not as invested in your financial life as you are,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it's not going to affect them and whatever kind of cutback you have to make. So I'd say that's another common mistake, is buying too big of a house.
And once the transaction's done, they honestly don't care what happens beyond that. So
Yes.
you buy that place, and either you can do it or you can't do it.
Great. So when approved for a loan, remember that you don't have to take the max. That even goes back to student loans, right? We just talked about that. I was
Right.
approved for a max and I took it.
So maybe think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, and you don't have to do that. And you know what else does that? Talk about little leaks. You go to the store, you need one thing of, I don't know, apple juice, and you get there and it's like 3 for $5. And suddenly you're like, oh, and you just put 3 in your cart. You only needed 1. So think about how many times in your life there's been a 3 for $5 and you felt that you had to take all of it. Think about that all the time in little areas, and you'd be so surprised how much you can save, a little bit here and a little bit there. All right, okay, so moving on, let's see what else I have here. Okay, so if you could talk to your younger self about money, which I would say, Jamie, don't take as many student loans, what are you doing? And you don't need those jeans from Nordstrom. What would you say to your younger self when it comes to money or finance?
Surround yourself with people who are good at managing money.
Okay.
You want mentors. You want other people who if you want to be financially successful, then it's probably good to be very curious about those who have been financially successful and ask them how they did it. And then 2, I would say read more books.
Okay.
Even audible.com. Like get some resource. Go find, just type in investing, type in money, type in whatever. There's a bunch of different things that will come up, and then sort through all of those books to start reading and educating yourself, even on your off times. Everything that you want to accomplish in life is ultimately going to be affected financially, right? So if you want to go on vacation, if you want to retire, if you want to buy a house, if you want, everything that you want to accomplish is going to have a financial component. So I'd say get educated with a lot of those resources.
I love it. So we've talked about that on the Dr. Jaime Show numerous times, is getting mentors. And if you don't have an actual human mentor, books can be your mentor. I've done some research and I've read some books in the financial industry. I've talked to you about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, great book. I also wrote down 2 more that I would recommend. It's Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins and Investment Answer. That's by Gordon Murray, I believe Murray. And go ahead and check those out. So those can be 2 mentors for you, to help educate you on money and finance.
And I'm pretty sure the investment answer is like $2 on Amazon.
Okay.
I think the author might have passed away or something, so
Okay.
I think that they're very cheap right
Okay, all right, very good. So you can get no excuses. You can buy that right now. After you buy the Superwoman's Guide to Super Fulfillment, then you can buy that book. Okay, very good. I have to plug it. Okay, so what would you tell to your younger self?
So there's 2 things I would say. If there's something that you're really passionate about and you really want to do in your life, go out there and take the opportunity to go experience that a little bit for yourself. Not even just from a financial, because then you'll be able to see where that will align with where you're going to go in your future.
Nice.
And at the same time, of course, every day is not given, and there's a chance that we couldn't be here tomorrow, but there's also the possibility that we are. And if we always just constantly live in the now and we're never focusing on how those decisions will play out later on down the road, so we start off in college and then we switched from one profession to another, or from one degree to another, take on student loans, buying too big of a house, ultimately what is that going to boil down to over your future?
Yes.
So just really trying to take a moment to sit down and reflect what it looks like in the future, and take yourself out of now and put yourself somewhere later on the road, even 3, 5, 10 years from now, what that looks like to you.
And I'm a big proponent of setting those 3, 5, 7, and 10-year goals. So take time, take an hour of your time this weekend, next weekend, definitely, maybe before quarter 1 ends, and sit down and visualize where you see yourself by December of 2017, and then 3 years out from that, and then 7 years out, and then your 10-year plan. look and visually see where you want to go and what you want to do. And remember that the decisions you make now are setting you up and aligning you for those bigger goals later down the road. So that gives you a way to put yourself in that mindset of I need to look at my future self, like he was saying. So excellent. All right. Any other advice you would give to your future self before we go on, or those are the two big things?
Get in the habit of saving early.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that would be something like,
Yeah.
even if you have a job that's paying you minimum wage, and like of course you need to pay bills, just even taking a couple dollars and getting in the habit of just putting something away. That way it becomes sort of a priority in your financial life, to where over time it'll just, as you make more money, you just have to start increasing your savings.
I love it.
So
So it's about creating habit. So for
Correct.
those of you out there that are, and I think we'll talk about this in a minute or two. In fact, that transitions us, like how do you save when you live paycheck to paycheck? But I think it's not just, if you're paycheck to paycheck and you're like, are you kidding me? I don't have anything at the end of the week or the end of the 2 weeks. Take $1 or $2, literally, that's it, and just put it away, and you're creating a habit. I love that point.
there's even a thing too that's out there. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it online. It's every week you take $1. You take $1 one week, and then the next week you double that dollar and you put away that, and like gradually over the course of a year, you start saving that money, and then I think it totals up to like almost $2,000 or something by the end of the year.
Yep.
And it's just a starting point for you to really just start getting in the aware and getting the know of what you're doing.
Okay.
Because of course, like if you go to ride a bike, if you take the training wheels off before you're ready, you're gonna fall over and hurt yourself. So it's like the same thing with anything in life is we gotta gradually take those steps.
And it's not only about putting that dollar away, but then it's not touching that dollar.
Correct.
Right, and that's where it's
Creating
hard, where you need to,
separation.
where you can, there's options for what, CDs and stuff, or just something where you can't touch it tomorrow,
Just even a savings account.
savings of
Make
some
it
sort.
another bank.
Maybe at another bank.
That's a great
Keep it
point.
out of the institution. And there's something that is pretty, we see a lot of, and like we live in a world where you're constantly being marketed to, right? Like you open your Facebook page, there's a sponsored ad.
Yes.
Like we are so inundated with advertising that it's very easy to find something that we can go buy. And so the world is constantly trying to pull at our money, right? And we're constantly trying to drain you of the resources you have, your time, your money, everything else. And I think it's very important to have a mindset of, almost creating priority around savings, because a lot of people don't know why they save. And I don't know if that sounds funny to some people,
no.
but some people really don't know why they save, or like, okay, yeah, retirement or whatever, but it's so far, they can't really touch it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a purpose behind it, and so it's very hard to do.
Absolutely. That is why, like I talked about the student loans, or why when I actually work with students or clients, they're in their 40s or their 50s, and they're like, I think I need to start saving for retirement now, right? And I can't fault them, because I felt that way too. Like I can't think about 60 and 70 when I'm here at this age and I'm trying to get through. It's hard.
So like if you subtract a lot of that time, what does that force you to have to do?
Yeah.
You have to save a lot more money,
Yep.
which can drastically, like, can you do it? It might not be possible. And then, I don't want to step on the next question
No,
here,
that's
but
fine.
then, just being able to find some control around what you're doing with your money. And
Okay. Any other tips or anything you would give to the viewers about, for those of them that live paycheck to paycheck or kind of close to it, what they can do to save? So we know saving, separate bank, saving $1 or $2, it adds up, or creating the habit. Anything else?
So
He's smiling. I can't wait to hear this.
Well, that's because when it's so funny, because paycheck to paycheck. So we've met a lot of people that they're living paycheck to paycheck, but their income is extremely high.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
So like when you say paycheck to paycheck, it almost makes us smile a little bit.
Okay.
Because I always think of, the person that we've met with that is literally looking at $350,000 of income, yet has no savings.
Okay. Yes.
And, and a part of it is because bigger home, student loans, like, they're kind of getting going in life.
Yeah.
So, but then there are the people that are actually living paycheck to paycheck,
Yes.
because it's very difficult to because there's so much, there's rent, there's electricity, there's other needs.
Yes.
You're almost taking care of your needs. And so, I think that, Marshalls, Ross, clearance, like anything you possibly can do. I mean, there are also people that make good incomes, but they also are at the clearance section because they are trying to save like as much as they possibly can, and it's really more of a mindset to some degree. You know, some people aren't able to save. That might be the season of life that people are in, and so you know, but I think coming back to the idea of $1 the first week or $1 the first day, then save $2 the next week, then save $3 the next week, and just slowly but surely create the habit and build a habit.
You have to be honest with yourself. So, and again, there are people that live real paycheck to paycheck. They are not eating out. Their electricity can be shut off, and that can be very, very challenging. But there's others of us that are going out to eat and getting our Starbucks every morning. Talk about the small leaks. You know, you go to Ross or Nordstrom on your student loans. I hope Sally Mae isn't listening right now because they might do. Is that even go what I did? I know they're going to shut me down. But you scammed people too, so haha. Okay, no, plug. Okay, so but you know, or like, and you take your check and maybe you spend $40 at the local Ross or Marshalls or Target. God, Target is a killer. You walk in for butter and you walk out with clothes. How does that happen? So I don't know how that happens. But you know, think about where you're overspending and you don't need to spend that, because $40 a week extra at Target or a place like that, that's $140, $80, $120, $160, $160 a month that you can get back. So you've got to really hone in and look at your expenses and see where you truly are overspending. And I don't want to jump to the end question.
That's a really good point you bring up.
Yes.
So many people are putting a lot of emphasis on their banking institutions or different places to track their spending.
Yes.
And it's sort of like out of place, out of mind thing that is doing it, and I'll look at it every so often.
Yes.
And they never actually look at like, what am I spending on all these different areas? So like when you actually look at spending, it's like you gotta sit down and really analyze it. And of course, at first when you start doing it, it can be almost like trying to learn something new or trying to go do something that you're not familiar with. And either you get bored of it or whatever the case is. And if it means something to you and you want to make sure you're successful, you have to take the time to do it.
You do. And one of the questions I was going to ask later, but I think this is a good transition into it, is talking about a budget.
Yeah.
What if you're not good with money or math or understanding? How do you create a budget? What do you do?
So, like, you know, it's funny. So, I would let's eliminate budget.
Okay.
Let's just not talk about
like that.
budget.
You can come back.
Well, we're gonna
screw the budget.
We're gonna stop talking about a budget and let's call it what it actually is supposed to be.
Okay.
It's actually supposed to be a spending plan.
Okay, a spending
It's
plan.
adding intentionality behind my spending. Most people think my income minus my expenses equals my savings. And what happens is the expenses, that comes first, doesn't it, before savings?
Yes.
What if we flip that? What if I make savings my first expense? I save in making an expense. So when you write your electricity bill and you send it to Seeko or Duke or whatever, and then you realize, you know what, I could have used that for something else. Do you ever call them up and say, hey, can you send me back my check?
No, but in that case, that'd be great.
Right?
We pause the show and I'd call right now.
Well, like you wouldn't do that, right? Because they would probably tell you, well, if you've already cashed the check, it's kind of like too late, right?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't do that because you knew why that check left your world.
Yes.
And so by making savings, I'm going to expense my savings into this account outside of an institution, making it intentional, having a spending plan, making my savings my first expense. I pay myself first. Then my expenses come after my savings.
Even if it's just a small amount, even if it's just I can save $10 this week and that's it.
Savings, that kind of adding intentionality, and now I know, and I have to know why I'm saving, right? So if income minus my savings equals what 401ks, like there's tons of people out there that we've talked to that basically they turn around, like, they've got $5 in their checking account, but they've got $50,000 in a 401k. Why is that? Because the 401k was coming out of their paycheck. It came out first. It had priority over what made it into their checking account, and therefore they didn't even know it even existed.
So that's another form of accountability, right? So if you are where someone issues you a paycheck, then you can say, hey, draft $20 out and put it into the savings. So that's another form of accountability, right?
Well, adding on there too is like if it's not set up to do that, and you're supposed to go in there and do it on occasion, it will be a lot harder because then you have to sit down and actually go do it. But if you set up an automatic transfer or an automatic Like what we do with a lot of clients that we work with is we set up an account, what we call a wealth coordination account.
Okay.
And what that's designed to do is pull that money out of their world and just dump it into a savings account with us.
Okay.
Doesn't get invested, nothing happens to it. All we're doing is we want to account for savings and get that out of their world
Okay.
before it gets spent and consumed.
Nice, excellent, very
So-
good. And that's part of that savings first and then expenses.
Correct.
Excellent.
And this also goes back to like when we talk about a spending plan. And if one thing is looking at your spending in a bank, like we've met with some people recently that they talk about, hey, I look at my bank and like, well, how's that going for you so far? Well, we still don't feel like we have control over what we're spending and where money's going. And like usually what we always suggest is take your receipts, look at your expenses, and actually add them up and categorize them. Then you can actually see is like, look, I'm spending X amount of dollars here. Do I want to spend that much money? If I am spending that much money and I want to reduce it, well, now we got to make it more of a something that we're conscious of. That usually a habit takes 21 days to establish, and then once you get into a spending plan or a habit of it, it takes about 3 months before you get really comfortable with where you are.
Okay.
So sometimes people like they give up before they even started,
Yes.
and if we don't take the time to do it, then of course we're going to be this part where it's going to be a failed spending plan, and then we're going to be back to where we are again.
Okay, so can you give us a couple tips? So for people out there that maybe never create a budget or a kind of, they're okay, but they're kind of just careless with their money a little bit. What do? You open up a Word or an Excel document and you do what?
So there's two ways that you can either let it happen automatically or manually. Like mint.com, there's
Okay.
plenty of web, like that 99 times out of 100 will not work.
Okay.
When it's automatic, you tend to disengage. You're very busy, most
Okay.
likely, right? You
Yeah.
got kids, you got
Yep.
other things that are coming
Astronauts.
at you.
I have
Astronauts,
right?
yes.
Astronauts, they're-
That need So when it comes to that part, right?
Okay.
When it comes to tracking, we say manually.
Mhm.
If you can write it down, great. If you put it in Excel,
Okay.
totally track it in Excel, make it like pure cash.
Okay.
You're following where money goes, and make it something that's habitual,
Okay.
right? So the one thing is our behavior is going to impact our success more than anything else.
Okay.
What you invest in, what insurance you buy, I think out of all that, it all comes down to behavior.
Okay.
So, when it comes to tracking, and say tracking it manually in Excel, if you don't know how to use Excel, there's great stuff online, YouTube videos, all that kind of stuff,
Okay.
in order to just say, here's my income, here's my expenses, here's how much I'm saving. Ultimately though, when we do that, we want to make sure that what's left over is zero,
Okay.
because we're accounting for our savings and our expenses.
Okay.
So
Okay.
income minus savings minus expenses equals zero.
Okay. In expenses, can you put like leisure or fun? Like
Of
camp
course.
people? That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
One thing is I would
Good.
recommend as well, like this is a huge recommendation that some people they say like, well, how often do I do this?
Mhm.
And it gets to the part, do I do it like once a month? Do I do it every couple of weeks? And like us as humans and human behavior as it is,
Yes.
once time goes by and we see this huge mountain of stuff to do, we just look at all the time it's going to take for us, and then we tend to avoid it
Yes.
and not want to do it. So me personally, like, I do my own spending plan. I've been doing it for 4 years. Like I constantly, every 1 to 2 days, I get on, I look at what I've spent, I update my expenses, and then I look at what I've been doing each every couple of days.
Mhm.
So like if we can get in a habit of doing it every 1, 2, maybe 3 days, sometimes every week, depending on how much you actually charge your card and
What
all
would
that
you-
other stuff.
What would you say though to the person that barely doesn't even want to create a budget? Okay, now they're going to, and they're like, "There's no way I can do this every 1, 2, or 3 days." Can you get away with it by doing it at the end of the month, once a month or something?
Well, I don't think people have to track spending at all.
Okay.
To be very honest.
Okay.
So like if there's 5 rules
Okay.
that we want to follow. The first one is we get organized.
Okay.
Second one is be perfectly protected, because no matter what you do, if you're not protected, right? Like if you don't have auto insurance and you wreck your car
Trouble.
and it's not covered, then now 10 grand, whatever you need, is now going to come out of the bank. Then save 15 to 20% of a person's income.
Okay.
Build liquidity, making sure that not all of our money is wrapped up in retirement accounts when we might be buying a home soon, and then paying off all short-term debt. Now, I talk about that in that order only because that question really boils down to how do I add priority if I'm doing all those things in the right order.
Okay.
Does it matter where my money goes as far as Starbucks or Outback or it really doesn't, right? So if people can save 20% of their gross annual income, they're maximally protected, they're paying off debt strategically, right? They're building liquidity. If they can do all that with their income, then they don't have to track anything.
Okay. Okay, excellent.
Getting to that point, of course, at first, like the national savings average is 4% today.
Okay.
So of course, the people that are saving 20% of your income can be like, oh my gosh, it's a lot. So we have to get involved, and you ask the question every 30 days. I mean, if there's a lot of stuff to do, I mean, some people are okay with that. I know me personally, if I had 30 days of stuff to put in, like I would be like, I'm not doing it. I'll do it next month.
Okay.
Like I'll avoid it. And we've had people we work with that, yeah, I'm gonna do it once a month, and then like we talk to them and like I haven't done it yet. It's been so busy. Life just kind of happening.
Yeah.
So it's just this whole behavior just keeps happening.
Money needs to be your priority. Like finance and you're keeping a track of them needs to be a priority.
Absolutely.
So it needs to be on your to-do list. Even if it's just a quick check, okay, where am I at? What did I do over the past couple days? And I do think and I tell people that I coach this, if we meet today and we set goals and then we don't meet again for a month, there's a good chance you're not going to, you just fall off, right? So we meet weekly. And I think if you know every 2 days where you're spending your money, if after 3 days you look and you're like, wow, we spent $25 at Starbucks and $30 in that, I spent $65 in 3 days? Okay. And that might contain you for the rest of the week so you're not just spending carelessly. And you talked about something earlier with leaving your money up to the banks or whatever, but with that debit credit card, worry about it later. I'll check it later. You're sliding it so different when you actually carry cash, which many of us don't do anymore for obvious reasons, right? But you would see it going away. Now it's just like.
Yeah. Well, and I think that people for those of you who have a good amount of debt, right? And a lot of people will use their credit cards for their lifestyle. Oh, but I get points, right? I haven't, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I haven't met anybody that said, "Hey, I got wealthy because of my points on my credit card."
Oh, great point.
So yes, there's that, but like I think a lot of people really find it a painful freedom in throwing their credit cards in a bowl, filling it up with water, and sticking it in the freezer, like stopping the bleeding, right? And only use cash because now cash is painful. You have a pain associated with cash. That can now start to, if you're trying to adapt the mindset of savings and priority and stuff like that, that'll bring you to a place where now you force yourself to be uncomfortable, but then to grow and become and adapt that mindset and adapt those habits.
Yeah, when you have cash, you protect it more.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be as, okay, all right, very good. So we have about 15 minutes, so I want to make sure we get to a few more questions here. All right, let's see. We talked about student loans a little bit, but okay, after we budget, if we have a little bit of flexibility, where do you suggest that we invest? To give us maybe because there's different people out there, some different options. So I've got some money. Okay, all right, I got my leisures cut out, I'm saving a little bit. Where should we invest?
So that's, and that question is so loaded.
Okay.
Like it is one of those things.
You've got 9 minutes, go.
When we're at parties, and so, hey, what do
That's
you do?
what finance people do at parties. That's what they do. I love it.
People
ask us.
I'm just kidding.
People ask
what do you do? You investments? Okay, what kind of investments?
What am I supposed to be in? And
You're like, I'm trying to have a beer, man.
Yeah, really.
Just trying
Seriously.
to have a beer.
What do you like to do for fun? Like,
Well, I think the easiest thing is people are always asking, well, what's cool right now, and so the investment industry is very into the next fad, the next product.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm not picking on advisors, but I will say advisors tend to be into the next fad, the next product, right?
Okay.
Coming back to the 5 rules. First rule, get perfectly organized.
Okay.
Second rule, get perfectly protected. Third rule, save 15 to 20% of my income. Fourth rule, build liquidity, making sure I have enough cash like in my savings account before I necessarily start dumping all of my money in a 401k, which is not liquid, right? You can't get to it until you're 59 and a half. And then pay off all short-term debt strategically. Now, usually investing can either come in step 4 or it can come after step 5.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So most of, I would say 100% of the time, we have never seen anybody been able to do those things in that order and then invest afterwards. Unless, there's always a problem with auto insurance or an umbrella, or maybe they need more umbrella, or maybe they don't have life insurance. There's always something in number 2 that we got to take care of. Then we got to help them build habits, right? Which is number 3, right? That comes way before investing. So I say that because I hope that people watching don't put the cart before the horse, right?
Okay.
Let's put on our socks before our shoes. let's take care of all of these other things, because what you invest in is not going to have anywhere near an impact in your personal financial success than your own personal decisions on spending, right?
Excellent.
So, a lot of the time people say, well, what's my rate of return? It's like, well, what's your rate of savings?
Yes.
That's more important than necessarily our rate of return, because, you could get a 40% every year, but then, if you hit somebody with your car and now you're getting sued for all your money, what rate of return did that really do for us?
Okay.
Well, so there's that fourth rule too about creating liquidity.
Okay.
And like that liquidity standpoint, like if we don't have any money saved up in the bank, and then all of a sudden we go to start investing it, even like 401ks is like very predominant, because it's almost like the person down the road does it, so I need to do it, and they don't really understand of like how it falls into their circumstances. So they start investing before they build the liquidity, which then in the event that the roof has to be replaced, the tires on the cars have to be replaced, I had a health bill that came up, or my kid needed something for school because they're in gymnastics or something like that, and like all these expenses pile up, and then all of a sudden all this investing we were doing pretty much gets taken back out.
Yes.
And so,
sometimes there's a penalty for that too, right?
And a 401k.
Yeah.
Well, if the market is down too, and we have to go to our investments, we're actually almost expediting our losses. We're increasing the amount of money that we're going to lose.
Okay.
But then also, like, if we're on a flip side of this, the people that do have money and they have been building liquidity and they are where they are, they want to invest. There's three things that we focus on, and it's what is your philosophy to investing, how much risk are you taking, and what are the returns that you're getting in comparison to your risk that you are taking.
Okay.
So there isn't really one clear-cut answer, and everyone's risk tolerance is different than another.
Yes.
But what is the purpose behind it?
Okay, excellent.
So like we're investing, but like if you think of it, most businesses, like investing is like our form of like capitalism, to where we get a chance, like the general public is a chance to participate in the growth of the economy. Most of the time where a lot of wealth is created by businesses and building properties and real estate and all these other things. So investing tends to be the way for us to get a piece of the pie, but then people, they invest for the wrong purposes.
Yes.
And don't know how that aligns with what they're trying to put in for us. So.
And there's a couple of epidemics, I call them, in our industry. One is fees for the investments that people are in.
Okay.
Like, you're not going to just be able to find one. Like, there's multiple fees in those accounts.
Okay.
Advisors a lot of the time don't even know about them. And for you to be able to find out all the fees, I'm just going to let you know now, it's not very easy.
Okay.
I think for anybody who's not looking at those things on a daily basis, it can be very, very hard. And then there was something else that, as far as risk versus return is concerned, when you think of, like, this comes down to educating yourself. I think of the book that you said, and The Investment Answer talks a lot about the risk versus the return, right? So people a lot of the time looks at return, and someone might say, well, I got a 20% rate of return. It's like, okay, did you take 50% risk though?
Okay.
Right?
Good.
So like,
So that can be almost like a common mistake we talked about earlier, is that people look right at what's my rate of return, but they're not assessing the risk that they're taking.
Right. So like
Okay.
someone says I got 20% rate of return. Okay, well, what kind of risk did you take? Because if you took 50% risk, that doesn't.
Right.
That's bad. Like that you got 40% of what you should have got. Right. So setting expectations as far as return and the risk that people take is pretty critical.
I'd add on just one more note to that too, is that there's this whole thing that they're called prospectuses that they send out. If you invest in a 401k or have different investments or stocks, whatever the case is, that they will show you the average return over time. And people think, well, that past performance is going to be almost like it's going to show me what the future is going to do. And there's always a disclosure at the bottom that says future performance, there's no guarantees to it.
Yes.
So like people, they'll look at it and say, well, this earned 7% over 10 years, but what did it actually do over those 10 years?
Okay.
So then investing, like, did it go up 10%? Did it go down 8%? Did it go up 5%? Like, did it actually consistent? And then when did you buy into the market and do all these other things? So it's, investing, it's not like, we can't sit here and say, hey, go buy Apple or go buy some Google and then you're going to be super successable. It's more of like following a philosophy of rule and then having a structure how you're doing it.
And in 1978, there's something called the Revenue Act of 1978, right? That's where a lot of the qualified, like, retirement accounts came from. And it's kind of weird being retirement advisors, right? Talking about investments and almost like downplaying a 401k. So, like, do you know where the origination of a 401k is?
Do you think, out there, viewers, that I know the origination of the 401k?
So like, where the name? What do you think the name stands for? 401k. It's a tax code.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right? And we
The
all
number I
know
know.
we all know tax code was written for our benefit, right?
Yes, yes. Of course not! Of course not! It's
so
paying,
I'm not-
you're paying the Uncle Sam.
I'm not beating up on a 401k, but there are certain things that people need to know about a 401k.
Okay.
If we're gonna take the medicine, let's know the side effects.
Okay, oh, I like that. I like that analogy. Oh, I like that. Okay, what are the side effects of the things that you're doing? That's what I'm going to challenge them to look at in their budget. Are the side effects of going to Nordstrom and taking out too many student loans? Okay, so listen, we have a couple minutes, but that question actually, when you were talking, it led into something that I want to ask about financial advisors. But there's a myth, maybe a myth, that I want you to debunk real quick. So I heard that if you only have two options, but you only want to do one or the other, you should do X. I'm going to give you the example. I heard that if you can save for retirement or put money in for your child's college fund, you should save for retirement. Do you agree, disagree? Give us some, because I'm sure people out there have
You to
faced
take
this.
the reign on
Okay.
this. So,
How many resources are out there for a student to go to college?
Is this like the 401k question?
Well, think
No,
about
I'm
it.
just
So like
There's-
they can get
there's a
student
lot,
loans.
yeah.
There's what do they call FAFSA?
Yeah, FAFSA. Yeah.
There's FAFSA. There's a lot of
There's a lot of avenues.
there's a lot of avenues.
Yeah, there's a lot of
right? As far as
avenues.
getting
But
funded.
you need to be educated in each of them.
and
Absolutely.
if they accumulate debt, then what could they do afterwards?
I've accumulated all of them.
They
But then what do you do after it?
could get a job.
A lot
And
of
then
them.
you
Yeah.
pay it off,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So how many resources do we have for whenever we get to retirement?
This is like the 401k question.
So you have Social Security maybe,
Right.
right? Which
So because there's less avenues for retirement, maybe working toward
well,
that.
let's say retirement wasn't taken care of. Kids got out of college, now they're out on their own.
Mhm.
But your retirement isn't taken care of. Where are you gonna start living?
Yes.
Probably with your kid,
Mhm.
right? So either we put money towards retirement and make sure that we're taken care of, or the burden of us is just going to end up passing on to our kids
Okay.
in the form of either taking care of us or helping us with income, or like if we ever need to go into a home, our kid's probably going to pay, right? So
I hope you have a good relationship with your kids too. So.
Well, but you're right, and it's so hard for people to, and I know we're almost at time, but I wanted to ask that question because it's so hard for us to, or many of us, to put ourselves before our kids.
it is very difficult.
Right, and you're thinking the most important thing is them getting educated to be successful so they're okay in the big world out there, and that they don't make the mistakes we did by taking out too many loans. But what I'm hearing is there's a lot of avenues to apply for student loans. If you understand them and you understand your options, you can educate your children and yourself on which ones to take, what not to take the max, etc., looking into FAFSA, looking into the grants, and then they'll be okay. Then they can get a job and reasonably pay them back. Meanwhile, you've had a retirement fund started in which you'll be okay when your child is graduated. You're not moving in with them, right? And living under their rules. Probably don't want to do that. But and you're not giving the burden over to them. So you are doing them justice and being good to them by saving for yourself.
Well, that and I think if people are persistent with their savings,
Mhm.
what stops you from just so an example would be a friend of mine. Their parents said, "Take on student loans, figure it out yourself."
Mhm.
He took on student loans, figured it out himself, more or less. Ended up graduating with a good amount of debt.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the parents were actually putting away money at the same time.
Okay.
Because those student loans are 0% interest until you graduate, and they paid off half of his loans after he got out of college.
Wow, excellent.
Because
Okay.
they had basically taken care of things in
Mhm.
advance, right? So you said, look, take on loans. It's free money. We're gonna continue to save, and you know what? If we need to replace the roof while you're at college, then we're at least gonna have enough money to pay to do that, right? So it's almost coming back to building liquidity before paying off debt.
Mhm.
If we can plan and give purpose to our dollars, and then if those purposes, you know, like if I'm putting away for a new car and I want to spend $40,000 on a new car, but then I go spend 20, well now I've freed up another 20 to go towards my kids' education. And that was just me making a financial decision over time. And it's very easy to rush and make decisions, like we just want to make a decision or buy that next car or do that next thing. If we just take our time and give purpose and direction with our money, then a lot of the time those other things like education, they get taken care of on their own.
And you too, and so because we're at time, and I want to make sure that we know how we can support you and find information on you. So you both are financial advisors. I know we talked about you are head of operations and insurance, and you are in charge of planning and investments. Okay. Oh, great. This is excellent. So. So that means we have the astronaut coming up.
Really, very bad.
Okay.
Wesley's nose is bleeding.
Okay, thank you. The astronaut let me know that his brother's nose is bleeding. So I will be mother in about, let's say 1.5 minutes. So very good. So so where can we find out how to get your knowledge and how to maybe use your services so that you can guide us in these 5 things you were talking about and creating a budget and being more savvy with our money? How can we find you and learn more about you?
Well, you have BurnettSeeko.com.
Okay.
That's my last name, his last name.
Okay, right here.
BurnettSeeko.com. You can find us there. You can contact us through the website. You can find us on Facebook, CJ Burnett, Thomas Seeko. I would say, you know, I don't know if you want me to give some advice as far as finding advisors, but
one thing too is that we have a Facebook page. You can look us up. We also have a mobile app for Android and iOS, so there's a chance for you to download, get some knowledge, book an appointment with us if you want to reach out to us.
Okay.
But go ahead with yours.
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
that was it. I mean,
Yeah.
and don't feel free to just call us.
Okay.
You know, just
Excellent, excellent. So that's BurnettSeeko.com. You can find out information. They can give you tips on best financial advisors for you, where to go. I'm sure your Facebook has a wealth of knowledge where they can find tips on there. 2, thank you so much for joining us. Oh, you know what? One thing I always do before the show ends, I have you leave the viewers with one sentence, one thing that you would like to leave them with for the day. Who wants to start? I know we're at time and I never go over, so thanks for being here.
Experience without reflection doesn't help.
Okay.
Only experience combined with reflection.
Nice, I love it. So the experiences you have and reflecting will give you what? Some more success, right?
Knowledge.
Knowledge.
John C. It's actually John C. Maxwell.
I like John C. Maxwell. He's great. He says quick to hire. He says slow to hire, quick to fire. So okay, and I know I love that quote. And then one sentence that you would. The astronaut is in here. Thank you. The astronaut is in here.
I
Okay.
would say with every day being so busy, take a moment to actually have some me time and enjoy the moment while we're here, because it can be gone before we know it.
Okay, I love that, absolutely, and I preach that all the time. Thank you so much for watching the Dr. Jaime Show. We have the astronaut live with us again, part of work-life balance. I'm not leaving you with anything today except go to drjaimek.com for more information. Next week we have on Dwayne Spires, Success Guru. The astronaut is coughing. I have to go be mom. Happy Friday. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Watch it.
Oh,